Now I invite Dr. Dilip M. Menon, the Mellon Chair in Indian Studies and Director of the Center of Indian Studies in Africa at the University of Witwatersrand, to join us for the felicitation. Dr. Menon is a renowned historian of South Asia. He is celebrated for his interdisciplinary work on caste, socialism, and equality. He has been instrumental in organizing this conference. Welcome, sir. He will now offer his felicitations.
Good evening, friends. I'm glad that all of you have come here today at the inauguration of the conference. It's an indication of the fact that the name of Makam Maulvi still resonates with us 100 years later. And it's also an indication of the fact that we live at a particular moment when Makam Maulvi has begun to mean something to us. We live at a time where we are surrounded by the need to define ourselves as Hindus, as Muslims, as citizens, as migrants, and so on and so forth. But what we see with Makam Maulvi is the attempt to create a large cosmopolitan vision. He was a Muslim who thought about the globe. He was a Muslim who fought for democratic rights. He was a Muslim who saw himself standing shoulder to shoulder with Hindus in the larger fight for a larger humanity. So when we think about all of this, we are reminded of a moment in our historical past when the world was different, when it was possible to pick up a newspaper such as Mahatma Gandhi or Makam Maulvi edited, where the world was on every page. And the newspaper taught us to be ethical human beings. It taught us about a larger geography of affinity so that the pain of someone in Palestine was our pain as well. So when we talk about Makam Maulvi as a journalist, it must remember that he reached not only into our minds, but into our hearts, across geographies, creating a world that was both existing at the time, but imagining a world that could be. And Dr. Rakshanda Jalil's lecture has reminded us that there were individuals like this, like Hasrat Mohani, like Maulana Bhashani, the Red Maulana as he was called for the East in India, and Makam Maulvi, as also the larger movements of Islamic reform that were happening in India, which were considering Islam by itself, whether we're thinking about the emergence of schools like Devband, or the newspaper Al-Manar, edited by Rashid Rida in Cairo, which imagined a larger modernism. And we shall have a talk on this by Dr. Roy Barsadeh, where we think about Rashid Rida as imagining a world of Islam that was modern all the way from West Asia to Central Asia and East Asia. Those were the visions that we were given by these thinkers who were not Malayali thinkers or Egyptian thinkers or thinkers from the United Provinces, but who thought within that larger space of the globe and of the larger space of Islam. So what we are trying to do in this seminar is to really think about an Islam that addressed the problems of the world and also within itself of internal reform as well as the remaking of a vision of living together and of humanity. We're also thinking about a historical literature that concentrates on British India and reduces the story of Hindus and Muslims to a story of partition. There is a telos that leads from 1857 to 1947. And what we need to understand is that there are 543 princely states whose history we've only now begun to reckon with. And each of these has its own histories, where Muslims are in a minority, like in Travancore, or Muslims are in a majority, like in Rampur. Think about states like Kashmir, Bhopal, Hyderabad, and you could go on. And in each of these, there are different sets of debates which are about ethical governance, which are about what it is to be a human in a world that is governed by a sheer rationality of governmentality. So all of these questions will come up. I shan't summarize for you because I hope you will attend the next 2 days of the conference where we have some of the most distinguished historians working on these issues. So I'd like to thank the Makam Maulvi Foundation Trust for helping me put together this conference because I began reading Makam Maulvi's work a year ago and I'm still really not there. He is an extraordinary intellectual, summoning up a huge universe, a man of a great cosmopolitan vision. So when I read my first paper a year ago, Dr. Sajida Bashir had come to listen to it, and then we hatched this plot to make a large conference where we could think about the larger vision. And I'd like to end with the words that Mr. Jayakumar said. He said that there's some people who become icons, and Wakka Maulvi has become an icon. And I think this is something that is both flattering as well as dangerous, because the problem with becoming an icon is that you're venerated but unread, you're worshipped. And what we need to do in seminars like this is to read Wakka Maulvi to begin with, to critically engage with him, to also realize that these are not utopian visions that are granted to us, but they are struggles. They represent struggles such as we ourselves face in our lives as we live in a world that is contrary to the imaginations that we wish to cultivate and foster. But thank you once again, all of you, for being here. I hope you will join us for the next 2 days. Thank you to the Wakka Maulvi Foundation Trust for enabling this. And I look forward to an animated discussion, and hopefully this will become a feature every year as more and more people begin to read the works as they are being published. And the Wakka Maulvi Foundation Trust is doing an enormous amount of work in making available for us the volumes of Deepika, of Al-Islam, of Muslim, and Swadeshabhimani. And so it's there in the public domain. So as Lenin was invoked by Rakshandra Jalil, as Lenin used to say, we need to read, read, and read. Thank you.